This session is about brainstorming your ideas for the Task 2 academic writing. If you've watched the overview video for Task 2, you should already know that the Task 2 of the writing test is an essay question that requires you to explain your opinion and ideas about a certain topic. And the first thing that you need to do is to get your ideas. That is the basis of everything else that follows. So really it's the foundation of your answer and the most important thing that you need to do once you see that question. So this is a really important video session that you need to pay attention to. Now, let's look at the 3 steps. Basically, there are 3 steps in terms of brainstorming on that question. Number 1 is to identify the key words. Number 2 is to understand the instructions. And number 3 is to organize your ideas. So let's look at these 3 steps in order. Now, the easiest way to do this really is to look at some example questions. So we're going to identify the key words now, and here is an example question. I'll just read this out. Some people think that parents should teach children how to be good members of society. Others, however, believe that school is the best place to learn this. Discuss both these views and give your opinion. So what you have here is you'll have the situation explained in the first 2 or 3 sentences, and then you'll have an instruction or a direction just below that. Now, if we take this question, and I'll highlight some of the key words. So you've got parents, teach children, be good members of society, and then believe that school is the best place to learn this. So you need to just simply go through. There's really no particular trick here. Just read that situation sentence and decide what are the key words there. And it's a good idea to underline them in the actual question paper itself. You can do that. Let's look at another example. So nowadays, the way many people interact with each other has changed because of technology. In what ways has technology affected the types of relationships people make? Has this become a positive or negative development? I should say that these questions were taken from the Cambridge IELTS examination papers, and that was published by Cambridge University Press in 2011. So we are looking at original essay questions from IELTS here. Okay, let's look at the key words then. So you've got the way people interact, changed, and then technology. And then in what ways has technology affected relationships, positive or negative? So look at that question, read it carefully, and underline the key words that you need to discuss. Let's look at one more example. Increasing the price of petrol is the best way to solve traffic and pollution problems. To what extent do you agree or disagree? What other measures do you think might be effective? So the key words here, you've got increasing the price of petrol, solve traffic and pollution problems, agree or disagree, other measures. Now, other measures, of course, means other actions or other suggestions. So that's the first thing. Go through that question, underline those key words. The next thing is to make sure you understand the instructions, because if you do not understand and you do not follow the instructions, you'll be in trouble. Now, the good news is, in IELTS, the instructions are actually quite limited. There's not too many that come up. They are repeated many, many times. So here is a good, very important piece of advice for you, because I'm going to show you the typical instructions that usually come up with these essays. So number one, discuss both points of view and give your opinion. So notice here it says both points of view. Usually with this type of question, you'll be given one side and the other side. Now you must discuss both. If you only discuss one side only, you'll get a penalty. And of course, you need to give your opinion. Usually, with both points of view, your opinion is going to be which side do you support more, and which side do you support less. So the next one is, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Or how far do you agree or disagree? These are the same kind of questions. And don't worry about to what extent. It just means how strongly do you agree or disagree. And of course, you've got to decide either I agree with it or I disagree with it. But how strong, how complete your agreement is completely up to you. And of course, it will depend on the topic. So the next one is this a positive or negative development, which is similar to agree or disagree, but you're probably looking more at the effect of it than your personal opinion there. And of course you need to say if something is positive or if something is negative. Usually when you get this question, is this a positive or negative development, you should discuss both positive and negative aspects of the situation. But then, of course, in your opinion, you're going to show which side you're on, positive side or the negative side. And then what other measures could be taken? We've discussed a little bit about this. Other measures means actions or suggestions. So here, IELTS need you to give some ideas about what can be done, basically. And then another instruction is the reasons for this development. So you need to simply think of some reasons why something is happening. And then the last one is, how does this affect whatever? So you need to describe the impact there. Okay, so you've underlined the key words, you've looked at the instructions, and you understand exactly how you must answer it following those instructions. The next thing you need to do is to organise your ideas. So this is how I suggest that you organise your IELTS essay. And this is the mind map for you. So you need 4 parts. The introduction, main paragraph 1, main paragraph 2, and the conclusion. Now, I've talked about this before, and I'll go into this in more detail because there are individual videos about how to write the introduction, how to write the main paragraphs, and how to write the conclusion. So this is the overview, and you can get more details when you watch those other videos. But as you can see, if we look at the introduction, this is a separate paragraph, and in that paragraph you need to describe the issue and then give a thesis statement. Then you make a new paragraph, and I call these main paragraph 1 and main paragraph 2 because these 2 paragraphs make up the body of the essay, and you need about 1, 2, and 3 supporting points for each paragraph. 3 is a guideline. You'll be okay with 2, but 1 is not enough, and 4 is probably too many. You also need explanations and examples, especially if you only have 2 supporting points. You'd probably need to give more examples, more explanations to emphasize why those 2 supporting points are important. And then paragraph 4 is the conclusion. In the conclusion, you give your opinion and then close with your suggestion. Okay, so that is how to organise your ideas. If you do that, you'll be fine and you'll have no problems with the essay. As I said, there are specific videos that go into each of these parts in more detail, so have a look at those videos after this. Now, let's just look at how all of this might come together with the main paragraphs. So once again, we'll look at an example that I showed you earlier. Nowadays, the way many people interact with each other has changed because of technology. In what ways has technology affected the types of relationships people make? Has this become a positive or negative development? So in this particular question, you can see that you've got 2 questions. In what ways has technology affected the types of relationships people make? And then the second question is, has this become a positive or negative development? So this one is easy, really, isn't it? You've got 2 questions, so each paragraph would answer one of those questions. So here we go. Paragraph 1 is the ways technology affects relationships. And then you need supporting points 1, 2, and 3. So you'd need to brainstorm these yourself. This is just some examples that I came up with. Number 1 is perhaps less face-to-face relationships. And this allows you to say different things if you're not face-to-face with someone. Number 2, attention deficit. For example, mobile phones sending frequent messages that interrupt conversations. Number 3 is it's made relationships a lot easier through SMS, email, and whatever. So they are some ideas. Now, it's just an example. Obviously, there's no right or wrong or expected content for this. As long as you can clearly explain how technology affects relationships, then any kind of idea will be quite appropriate. Okay, so the second one asks, has this become a positive or negative development? So here it's up to you if you see a mixture. In this one, I've decided to say that it's mainly positive, not 100%, but mainly positive. And here are some positive examples. Better understanding of cultures and traditions, creating a wider network, and freedom to express ideas and opinions might be positive or negative effects. Now, these are just the notes. You'll need to give maybe some examples and explanations to strengthen those supporting points. But you can see that basically there you have the 2 paragraphs in answer to those questions. Aside from that, as I showed you in the mind map, you need to add your introduction and conclusion, and you have a complete essay there. So the kind of topics that you have to write about are varied, and I'll show you this again. Obviously, this mind map is on the overview to task 2 as well, but it just gives you an idea of some of the things you might need to think about. The environment, education, money, transport, technology, food, lifestyle, business, age, health, family, shopping, art and culture are just some possible examples there. So just to close this, there are a few tips that I'd like to give you in terms of how to get better ideas, because a lot of people have problems of actually getting your ideas. And really, in this task 2, if you have no ideas for what to write, then you cannot come up with a good answer. So here are my tips to help you. The first thing is use the keywords. Concentrate on those keywords and try and think about any ideas related to those particular keywords in the question. Number two, this is general preparation tip really, is to listen to the news, CNN, BBC, those kind of international news channels. And nearly every day there is some kind of controversy or problem that the news is reporting on. So ask yourself, do I agree with what is happening? Do I agree with what governments are doing? Do I disagree? And actively be critical about those stories. And of course, you need to ask yourself why. Doing that will just build up your critical thinking muscles, which will allow you to build arguments, which is the most important thing. Now, tip number three I've called Where's the Money? This is just a general tip. If you're stuck for ideas, often the financial impact is a good thing to look at, okay? So, for example, if you're trying to think about why something is positive or negative, is it expensive? Therefore, it's a negative impact. Is it cheap? Therefore, it has a positive impact. Something like that. Number four, you can also think outside the box, use your imagination. You could create hypothetical situations that will support and explain your ideas. Now, number five, of course, you can use your own experience in the real world. Maybe things have happened in your workplace or in your country that you can share a story with and write about as part of your supporting ideas. Also, you can use other people's experience. Maybe you have not experienced something, but you have a friend or family member who has had an experience related to the issue. And that experience might be a story to use as a supporting point. Now, the final tip is to practice brainstorming essay questions. Once again, brainstorming is a skill that can be developed and strengthened. So certainly before you go into the real test, get hold of some task 2 questions. They're all over the internet and they are easy to find. So get hold of some of those essay questions and sit down and just brainstorm your main ideas and your supporting points for those. Okay, so I've covered a fair bit in this video about brainstorming ideas, but just to summarize it for you, you need to begin by identifying the keywords. Then you need to understand the instructions, and then you need to organize your ideas. So there are more videos on the introduction and the main paragraphs and the conclusion of the Task 2 essay. Go on to those for more details.